Everyone likes to make out that chess is this super simple game where all you need to do is develop your pieces, start to attack, and you're going to win every single game. Well, that might not be true in all cases. You might not feel that's true yourself, but there's a reason all grandmasters say that, and this game is no exception. I actually just got all my pieces out and played very principled, very human moves, but still managed to get 100 accuracy and win the game extremely quickly with a nice tactical finish. Here we go, it's a rapid game, played against Mahout from Egypt. I decided to go with e4. My opponent decided to reply with e5. I go knight to f3 trying to contest the center. He does the same, so he's playing all best moves so far, but this is where he sort of deviates from theory. So I go bishop to c4, this is the Italian game. Just sort of putting a little bit of pressure on f7, and black decides to go h6. This is the anti-fried liver variation. Basically, black wants to play knight to f6, but doesn't want to allow any sort of fried liver things with threatening the fork, because h6 does do a good job of controlling that g5 square. I continue here playing the best move, pawns d4, completely controlling the center. And this is basically a very thematic thing in the Italian. If your opponent deviates from the two main lines here actually being knight to f6, controlling the center, and bishop to c5, basically doing the exact same thing white is doing, and also controlling the center and attacking that pawn at f2. These are the two main lines. There's a reason those are the main lines, because if you deviate from those, your central control can actually collapse rather quickly, and that's what we see with d4. I'm staking my claim in the center. And there's also a threat that's not too easy for black to react to. He decides to exchange. I capture my knight, and my knight is very nicely placed in the center of the board. If it gets exchanged, it's not the end of the world, because black can take here, but I'll just get my queen out, and now my queen is actually quite well placed here, putting annoying pressure on this g7 pawn, things like that. And if the queen has to move away, it's not the end of the world. It's just better placed than it was on d1. That's why black doesn't really want to take here. So after I've recaptured, he decided to play the move knight to e5, which is a really, really strange move. I've faced it a few times. I don't know why these sort of players at my level go for this move. It's very strange. It's a very one move threat. Oh, I'm going to attack your bishop for one move. It's like, I'm not going to give you my bishop, and you're just moving a knight in center of the board, but frankly, it can just be attacked. Like f4 might come, king knight, where of course I have to move my bishop, and I just have a ready-made attack on the king side, expedited by the fact that I'm attacking the knight on e5. So a bit of a strange move here. I play the best move, move my bishop back to b3. He plays d6, finally trying to get some development, but it's just a bit too late. I mean, you're trying to get this bishop out, but you should probably just get your knight out first. Like, at least get something, because this pawn move is just a bit too slow, and you're already a bit behind the development. You need to catch up quick, otherwise things are going to be a bit dire. Again, I play the best move, knight to c3. And this is one of those positions where, I think it was Ben Feingold said, it's like, it looks like I've sacrificed something. Like, if you look at my position, I have 3 pieces out, black has 1 piece out. Obviously, you can say, oh, well, he can just get a piece out in the next move, and now it's only 2 against 3. But then I get another piece out, and it's 4 against 2. So I've got that tempo advantage being white. And with all these pieces out, things can get nasty really quickly. So, like, I've not sacrificed anything. It's just the fact that black has neglected his development so much, just doing these pawn moves just a bit too early in the game, that I've allowed to get all my pieces out. And actually, black's position is actually kind of in dire straits. It's 1.6 advantage for white, which may not seem that clear, but if you see how the game goes, it does become very clear. So he goes c5, another inaccurate move. A lot of players love to play this. It's very tempting. Oh, I'm attacking the knight, kicking out at the center, but it's a positional mistake. Because after I move my knight back, that d5 square is completely free. So I move the knight back, which is also the best move. He can exchange the knights, but I get my queen out. So again, free development, and now he's got no developed pieces. So that's not really a great idea. Also, after I move my knight back, there's a very common plan here. Usually the knight isn't on e5, but it's a very common plan where you go bishop to f4, move the queen, long castle, and usually black just ends up losing this pawn. There's too much pressure on it, and the fact that it's backwards, so the square in front of it is controlled and there's no pawns defending it, really makes it extremely weak for the entirety of the game. Here he decides to go bishop g4, which looks like a natural move. You know, oh, thank God he's finally getting some pieces out, but it's just too late. My development advantage is just too good. So usual motif when the bishop comes out to g4, something you always got to be aware of, especially if it's undefended, is this tactic here. Bishop takes f7, because usually if the king would take back, you can win the bishop with like a knight check in the middle of the board or the edge. But that's not happening here, and also black can simply just take that backwards, so that doesn't work here. The tactic that I actually won the game, my opponent left the game off this move, is a brilliant move, knight takes e5. I'm going to give it a brilliant sign. Just because I'm sacrificing my queen completely, and after that I'm completely winning the game. So if my opponent decides to be greedy and takes my queen, he just immediately loses. Bishop takes f7. You might have seen this mating pattern before. If you haven't, it's absolutely beautiful. The only move is king to e7, and knight d5. It's checkmate, because the knight cuts off these 2 squares, that knight cuts off that square, bishop cuts off that square, the bishop is defended, and also defends this e6 square. The rest of the squares are blocked by black's own pieces. So his lack of development literally gets him checkmated. Also, sacrificing the queen is always nice to do, but sadly my opponent didn't go for that. The engine best bet move here is just to take the knight, but I calculated all of this. I see you can simply just take the queen, and again, my position is doing very well. Even a natural move like just trying to develop the knight, you can run into a bit of problems here. You've got bishop a4 check. After I move like knight to d7, I think the engine say move the king up, but I'm not really sure what human's going to play that. The human move probably like knight to d7. Then you just got a nice move, bishop to e3, and then look at the pressure here, pressuring this pawn. Probably get a long castle and get a rook facing the queen. Like, it's going to be really hard for black to survive, and he's down a piece. It's not just like I have a positional advantage anymore, I'm up in material too. Nice variation is if black wants to try and defend with the move like queen to e7. Again, you can simply just snap this bishop, completely winning. Now you're actually up 2 pieces and still have a positional advantage. Like all black's got out is the queen, and I have 3 pieces. This just goes to show the power of getting all your pieces out and developing, even when your opponent doesn't want to. You can quickly win games if you manage to capitalize on any chance that you get. And obviously, if you do get all your pieces out and your opponent does the same or almost does a great job and they sort of get out of the opening, no worries. You don't have to win the game right away, but you might have a small advantage that you can keep pressing, keep making threats and getting your pieces to better squares, and you're going to be having some great games. Hopefully you guys learned something from that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and maybe helps out your chess too. I'll see you guys in the next one.